This video, I'm going to show you about the Desmos app, and if you've never used that, hopefully you'll enjoy this. If you have, you might, according to how much experience you've had, you might not need to watch this, but we're going to just start with the graphing part of it first, and show you some of the features that you have of it. Now, if you're using this with your class, one of the things about it, the kids don't have to sign in if they would like to use Desmos, but do be sure if you're wanting them to save their graphs, they do need to sign in on that. So, and again, here is your sign in button if you want to sign in so that you can save something. So if I'm just graphing with the kids in class doing things, I usually don't sign in, but like I said, if there's anything I want to save, then I would sign in. Okay, so let me come over here and just show you this key to start off with, this plus key. This is what gives you your choices. So you can type in an expression, you can type in notes, and I'll be honest, I really don't ever use that one. You can do a table, you can make a folder, or you can do images. And so I will run through real quick and just show you each of these. So let's say I want to just add an expression, something like x plus 3. Very easy. You can just type it in. If you would like to use the f of x, you can also do that. Maybe I want to do x minus 5. So you can do that very easily. Either one, it doesn't matter on that. So that's how you type in an expression. If you want a table, then you can type in a table of points. So maybe I want the point 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. And then it will plot the points on there. Okay. Let's see what else is there. You can also do an image. I'll come back and do that one in just a second. The other thing about it is you can change your colors. So if you hit the sprocket up here, then that allows you to click on your colors and change that to whatever color you want. So maybe I want that purple. And then again, I can click here. Maybe I want that red. And so you can make changes to that. The other thing, and you can do that same thing to your points. If you want to change the color of your points, you could do that also. I can make them whatever color I want. Okay. Orange. Okay. And I think, let's see on there. Yeah, you could change that. You can turn them on and off. Okay. Same way with your lines. You could turn your lines on and off. You can make them dotted. So let's come back up here to this one, maybe, and I'm going to choose. Oops, I think I turned it off. Yeah, you just could click there and turn it off. But let's say I wanted it dotted. So maybe I'm doing a systems of inequalities that I want it dotted. I can do that. There's your other choice on the dotted. Okay. You can also do inequalities very easily. So if you're doing inequalities, systems of inequalities, this is very quick, very fast. I think my kids actually enjoy it more than the graphing calculator. To me, seems like it's a lot easier to change the colors and so forth on there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and clear that piece out and this piece out here. I want to come on down to this one and show you also, maybe I want to do, let me give me a couple of points in here, 5, 6, and 7, 8. We'll just throw some points in here. The other thing that you can do, if you do Y, I got my cap lock on there. If you do Y, and I honestly cannot tell you the name of this symbol here. We call it the squiggly line. I should learn the actual symbol on that. It is up above your tab key on that, or if you go to your, down here on the bottom, the screen doesn't allow me very well. Let's see if I can move my grid down just a hair. There we go. So there is also a keypad down here you can click on. And we could talk about that in just a minute too. So it is over here on functions. If you want that symbol under stats, okay, right here. If you wanted that. So it's either way. Whoops, I forgot one thing. So when you come in, you do want to subscript it 1. It'll automatically do that for you. MX1 plus B. And so what you can do real quickly is you can do your line of best fit. We have a slope of 1, a y-intercept of 1, your stats or correlation coefficient of 1, so forth on there. Again, you just use your little squiggly. The subscript 1 and 1, again, must match your table. If you've got 2 tables, you just put 2 and 2, 3 tables, 3 and 3, and it'll match it up. Very easy to do, very easy for the kids to do also. Again, I think it's easier than the calculator, and so that's why we use it a lot. So with that, let's go on over, and let me show you over here. There's a wrench. This is your graph settings. So this allows you, well, to do several things. Of course, as a teacher, you can do your projector mode. I don't use that too often, but definitely something you can do. Usually this on my projector is big enough so that we can see both of them, but I'll just show you what it does. It just kind of makes it a little bit bigger. But like I said, for the most part, the kids are also working along with it. If I'm just doing it and the kids aren't working along with it, you might want the projector mode, but usually I have them also doing it with me. Grid, let's talk about that real quick. You can change it, take the grid on, take the grid off. You can change or take off your numbers, put your numbers on. You can take off the gray lines. So there's several options there. You can have to it, arrows, again on the end or not. You can change it to your polar coordinates system or back to our Cartesian system. Here is your X and Y axis. You can change those, change your Y axis. You can add a label, so maybe I am doing a time and a distance graph. Let's just say, whoops, I'll be able to type distance. And then again, you can see those on there, time and distance. The other thing that you can do is you can actually move this just with your cursor here. As a matter of fact, sometimes I move it too much on that, but you can move that around also. And then you've got, so you've also got your out and your in, just by doing the plus and the minus. That also works. Kids sometimes, especially, they like it when we're doing like parabolas and x cubes and so forth, because you can really scroll out and scroll in really quick on that. So there's just some things there. Of course, there's the home screen that always takes you back where you were at. That was right there. Okay, let's see what else. Let's go ahead. I'm going to click on the, again, your screen here so you can kind of see some of the things that are here. Very easily, you can do absolute value, square roots. There's your pi, greater than, less than, or you can use your keyboard. Same thing here. You can use your caret key, or you can use this. Functions, also great to do. Your trig, you can do your sine, cosine, and tangent if you want to let's just add in here, if we will, an expression. So maybe I want to graph y equals, and you can come over here and do sine of x if you would like. Of course, you don't have to use that. You can also just type in y equals sine x, and it will also do that. So let me change that so you can see the difference here. Whoops, sorry, my bad. I'm going to change this here to cosine x. Okay, so there you can see both of them. So you don't have to use the function over there, but it does make it really nice. You can do any of those. Again, if you're looking at tables, you can do all your stat functions, mean, median, mode, range. Here's your probability, factorials, so forth. And then on our miscellaneous, you can also do your absolute value function here, your exponential, logarithms, summation. So you've got a lot of choices here if you want to do a cube root, percents, rounding, and so forth. And I'm going to be honest, I haven't even used some of those. I haven't needed to. Maybe you're wanting to do the rounding function, ln, and so forth, but it is there on that. Okay. let's see what else to show you here on that. I just do a quick on one of the things and how, so you can just close that out and get rid of those. But one of the things that when I am doing, especially when I'm doing an introduction maybe to students, and I like them to start, let's say I'm looking at slope, and them to see what the change that takes place as the graph is now a 2x or then a 3x. And so what we do is, what I do with the kids is I start making them look for patterns. Okay, so what would we expect to happen? So now I have a half x. So okay, given that, what would a third of an x look like? Okay, and I do the same thing with my x squareds and so forth. So then maybe we're looking at all those, and then instead of looking at slope, we want them to start looking at the y-intercept. And so we look at a graph and I say, okay, there's my y equals. And again, I can just hit return. I don't have to hit that plus key every time. And I could say, okay, there's x plus 2. Well, what did that do to my graph? Y equals x minus, x minus 2. And again, what did that do? And so they can start looking for patterns. Okay, now if I put a negative out in front of it, what does that do? And so the thing that I like about the Desmos, and especially with graphing, is you can so quickly have the kids put different graphs in there and start looking for the pattern. So instead of you saying, okay, here's y equals mx plus b, the m is always the slope and the b is always the y-intercept, let them put it in there and let them say, oh, well, hey, every time I change that number in front of the x, the coefficient, so forth, you can bring in that word in there that it changes the slope. And oh, hey, every time I do that plus button, it moves it up or it moves it down, and then introduce your y-intercept. So according to where you're at, I do this for all of my types of functions that we do. So when we do quadratics and we do parabolas, we do the same thing. We start looking at the pattern that takes place before we actually ever get to graphing those. We first just look at, okay, here's a line, y equals mx plus b. We know we just did that, and here's what the graph looks like. Now if I make that a y equals x squared, what's the graph look like? Okay, well, let's see if some of those same patterns fit. If I put a number in front of it, what happens of the x, what happens? If I add a number, what happens? If I subtract a number, what happens? Okay, well, now what if I put parentheses in there and inside and have it quantity squared, what happens? And so forth. And so a very good introduction to a lot of things we do. And then of course with scatter plots and so forth. And then this carries over into, again, if you do any hands-on activities, according to how much time you want to spend on them graphing their own scatter plots. A lot of times I'll have them do one by hand and maybe one on the computer, but then as we progress, then they do it mainly on the computer. When we go to chemistry class, and we've collected data, it's so much easier for them to just run here and do it on the computer. Okay, the video is getting a little long, so I just want to show you one more thing real quick before we move on to the next piece. Of course, you can also add an image as long as it's something that you have on your computer. Let's see, I'm just going to grab Flintstone here. I do this with quadratics and bridges. That's one of the things that the kids like to do, where they get to pick a picture of a bridge, something that has a parabola to it, an arch, and then they have to write the equation for that. And so when we're doing this, they start trying to think, oh, okay, well, let's see, let me get this out of this. So we can see right here that this looks like a parabola for his shirt, his belly. And I know it's flipped upside down. And so we have an x squared, okay? And then let them say, okay, does it need to be wider or does it need to be steeper? What does it need to be? And then they can start adjusting their slope in order to try to match it, and just it's really just an area where they can just kind of play with it, and you can really see if they understand where all the parts of the parabola are, or maybe it's a line, by just them doing an activity like this. Okay, I'm going to stop this. We'll have another one, but hopefully I've kind of showed you. If there's anything else you want to see, let me know with that.